Bene, bene, bene. Allora, siamo leggermente in ritardo. Chiedo di prendere posto a chi è ancora in piedi qui davanti. Dobbiamo andare avanti e abbiamo colui che ormai è già in stage, ho già on stage con me, Daniel Craig, che ormai è un amico di BTO. You are a friend of BTO. You are here. It's the third time, right? If I remember well.
Yes.
Third time.
Yes.
So this year is gonna speak about social media and storytelling, which is something that we already want to know. So there will be space for questions at the end. So we're a bit in a hurry with the previous panel, but now we'll leave some space for questions from the audience and from Barbara Sgarzi, which will join us after all. The stage is all yours. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Giancarlo. Buongiorno a tutti. Come state? Tutto bene, tutto bene. Anch'io, tutto bene. So my name's Daniel Craig, and I'm from Vancouver, Canada, and today I'd like to chat with you a bit about social media and storytelling. And as Giancarlo mentioned, this is my third time here at BTO. I'm thrilled to be back, and I'd like to thank everybody at BTO and at Fondazione Sistema Toscana for making it possible. Now, there's nothing new about storytelling. We've been telling stories since the time of cave dwellers, swapping stories by the campfire. The only thing really that has changed is the platforms. So social media has created unprecedented platforms and virtually unlimited audiences for sharing stories. Now, here in Italy, you have an embarrassment of riches. You're blessed to have so much history and architecture and culture and art and nature and food and wine. There really is no limit to the amount of stories that you can tell. And this is coming from a Canadian, and I've worked with many northern, very cold destinations. And if you think you have challenges attracting visitors. So the challenge is not having stories, but how to tell them, and how to tell them effectively within the social media environment. Now, I learned early on about the power of social media and storytelling when I was a general manager of a hotel in Vancouver called Opus. We launched the first ever hotel blog. This was back in 2006. And rather than using the blog as a platform, as an advertising platform, I used it to tell stories. And I talked about a lot of things that your typical general manager wouldn't talk about. Things like why we overbook sometimes and relocate guests, and how it feels like to get a bad review, and how we deal with difficult guests and celebrity guests. And as a result, it really helped put the hotel on the map. And I actually left my general manager position to focus on writing, and I've since published 3 mystery novels that are set in hotels, and my main character is a hotel manager. And so I've been able to combine my love for storytelling with my love for hotels. And let me ask, how many people out there are hotel managers, just by show of hands? All right, quite a few. Some don't want to admit it. In my first book, Murder at the Universe, in the first chapter, the general manager of a hotel in New York is found murdered. And a lot of hotel employees have bought the book just based on that premise. So today I run a consulting business, Renown, and we provide strategy and training in social media and online reputation management. And a big part of that, of course, is storytelling, helping brands with their story, but also helping brands get travelers to tell stories about them. And so today I want to share with you a few of the principles of storytelling that I've learned as a general manager, as an author, and as a consultant. So, why is storytelling important? Well, think back to the last time you read a good book, or you saw a great movie, or your friend told you a really funny story. What was good about that story? It's a good story that's well told captures our attention. It makes us sit up and listen, and it resonates with us, so much so that we want to share it. We want to tell other people about it. And we remember it. We often find ourselves maybe a few days later thinking about it. So in social media, storytelling is important because there's so much noise. And so by telling good stories, it's a way to be heard, to be shared, and to be remembered. And a lot of people, when I talk about storytelling, they get all freaked out. They're like, I don't have time to tell stories. I'm busy. I got a job to do. I've got guests to take care of. But good stories don't have to be long to be effective. And as an example, the American writer Ernest Hemingway, back in the 1920s when he was a newspaperman, he bet his colleagues $10 that he could tell a story, a full story, in just 6 words. And he won that bet with this story. For sale, baby shoes, never worn. And in Italian, vendesse sciarpe da bambino ma indossate. So hopefully your stories are going to be more uplifting than this story. But the point is that in English, that's 33 characters. In Italian, it's 41 characters. You guys are a bit more long-winded in Italian. Now, Hemingway was a minimalist. And he was kind of a grumpy guy by reputation, but I think he would have loved Twitter. He could have fit 3 or 4 of these stories in one tweet. And today is an era of minimalism because we don't have time. We're always in a hurry. We have very short attention spans. Travelers are making decisions about where to stay, where to eat, where to shop, what to see, all on the go, looking into a little screen on an iPhone or whatever type of smartphone. So the first rule of storytelling is we want to keep it short and sweet. And when it comes to traveler stories, a story can be as simple as, I was here. I like this place. I recommend it. Social stories are also interactive. So unlike a movie or a book, the audience participates and they can interrupt and ask questions and make comments. And social stories and travel should also be helpful because often people are planning a trip and they're looking for very specific information. Ideally, they also compel action. You want people to take action from the messaging that you're sharing. And that could be to click a link to find out more information, to share it with other people, or to make a booking. Now, there are essentially 2 main types of travel stories. There are brand stories. These are the stories that businesses tell. And then there are traveler stories. And that could be travelers, it could be bloggers, it could be journalists. Now, the problem is that there's often a disconnect between the stories that businesses are telling and the stories that travelers are telling. And this can lead to distrust. Travelers don't trust the stories that marketers are telling, and so they ignore them more and more, and they turn to social media to consult information and advice from the source that they trust more, other travelers. And Facebook provides an opportunity for us to friend source to check in the information and advice from our friends. And this is probably the source that we trust more than anything. And last year when I came to BTO, I decided to go to Venice for the first time, and I had no idea where to stay. And instead of going online and going through all that, trying to sort through all the chaos online, I posted this on Facebook. Any recommendations for a hotel in Venice? And within a few hours, I had dozens of recommendations on where to stay. And through that process, I found the perfect hotel, and I booked direct. I didn't even have to go online. Now today, we need to earn back, as marketers, we need to earn back travelers' trust if we want them to use our selling platforms. And so as businesses, the stories that we tell must match the experiences that we're providing, because they in turn drive traveler stories. And this is actually a really good tie-in with the theme of the conference, Mind the Gap, because we need to mind the gap between the expectations we set for travelers through the stories we tell and the reality. So there's no more fantasy descriptions and fairy tale photos, hoping that travelers won't notice the much grimmer reality when they arrive. Today, the trend is reality marketing, being so honest and authentic in setting expectations that you leave a lot of opportunity to exceed expectations. And when you do that, that creates advocates who help you spread the word about your business. So in social storytelling, we want to start with a very powerful brand story, which is essentially your positioning statement, describes who you are as a business. And often we think that the brand story is about us, about our business, but it's actually not. It should be about the traveler, told from their perspective and answering the questions that travelers have when they're planning trips. So who are you? Where are you? Why should I go? What will I do? How will I feel? So let me show you an example of this from my hometown, Vancouver. And so if you go into Google and you search tours of Vancouver, one of the first things that comes up is Vancouver Foodie Tours, which is just a little company in Vancouver, but they're very smart about online marketing. And right on the results page, you find their brand story. If you are looking for fun things to do in downtown Vancouver, our food tours and educational day trips are a favorite tourist attraction to remember. So very simple, but it's smart because it appeals to our two main audiences online: travelers who are planning trips and looking for information like this, and algorithms. So they're using the keywords that people type into search engines when they're planning activities. And when you click on this website and you come to their website, there's a page called Our Story. And on that page, it tells you more about who they are and who their guides are. It provides all sorts of helpful information. And of course, there are, like any business, there's the links to the various social media sites. But when you go to these sites and you read the profiles, like this one on Twitter, you're finding a consistency in the brand story. It's tweaked a little bit to match the medium because each social network's a bit different. So on Twitter, it's a bit shorter. On the website, it's longer, but it tells the same message. And then, most importantly, when you go onto TripAdvisor and read traveler reviews, they're telling a very similar story. So this consistency has helped this little business climb the rankings on TripAdvisor to be within the top 3 of almost 200 businesses in the city, and it's generated them a great deal of business. So we can't always tell the full brand story, nor do we always want to, And so an effective means of social storytelling is little slices of life from the guests' daily lives that people can read and see and imagine themselves a part of. And here's an example from a hotel that posts this photo and says, check out this cute couple enjoying champagne breakfast at the pool after getting engaged here last night. And this story uses subtext. And subtext is important in writing and in social storytelling in particular, because subtext is what is inferred but not actually said. And it's helpful in social media because we want to keep our messages short, and we also don't want to be really promotional. So the subtle message here is come to our hotel where you'll enjoy romance, life-changing events, and a taste of luxury. Slices of life also help us avoid cliches that we see so often in the travel industry. These things that are used frequently by all the businesses, and so much that they have no meaning, and they tell very little about the actual business. So we want to avoid cliches as much as possible. We also want to know our audience. It's important to know who your target market is. So, for example here, this package, and packages are often a great way to tell the story of your brand, but you want to make sure that they're on message. This package here that's all about partying and girly nights out and pampering is going to appeal to a certain type of traveler, whereas this package, which is about the church retreat, book 15 rooms, and your pastor stays free. It's all about Bible reading. That's going to attract a completely different type of traveler. And if I was a hotelier, I don't think I'd want those two groups of people staying across the hall from each other. One of the first things that I learned as a writer is to show, don't tell. So resist the urge to explain everything. And in marketing, we can call that dramatizing description. So rather than listing off lists of your benefits and your features, which can be really boring, you turn them into a story. And here's an example of that. And it's from Visit Tuscany, and I think they're really smart storytellers. If you're looking for inspiration, they're just outside there. I think they do a really good job within the social media medium. And here they say, Giacomo waits for the autumn to come back to Tuscany in the Monte Amiata. Read why here. And they've added a photo here, and this creates a bit of mystery and intrigue, and the likelihood of people clicking is going to be higher. And also there's subtext here. The subtext is, hey, come to Tuscany in the fall because it's beautiful then too. Now, when we tell good stories in social media, they get shared more. And sharing is really important because it turns an advertisement into editorial, into user-generated content. So it moves us from, on Facebook, from the right side panel that everybody ignores, nobody pays attention to, right into the news feed. And even better, not as sponsored content, but as a post, a user-generated post, a friend sharing information with friends. So it's going to have more impact, more influence. And I don't think anybody's more powerful storyteller than our guests. And we can learn a lot about storytelling in online reviews, because often they start with a gripping lead that you just have to read, and they're told from the traveler perspective, and they contain helpful information and advice, and often humor. So we can't write stories for the travelers, but we can certainly influence them, we can shape them. And part of that means setting a vision. Asking yourself, what kind of stories do you want your guests to be saying about your business when they leave. And when you get that figured out, share them with all your staff and make sure they understand their role in making those stories happen. And train and empower your staff to be remarkable, to be worth remarking about. So to provide service that's so special and unexpected and memorable that people say, hey, I want to tell other people about this. And then when you get those great reviews, of course, you want to share them with staff and say, this is why it's important, this is what we're striving for, congratulations, and let's get more of them. And there are all sorts of tools out there to help us because, of course, we are all very busy. So for social listening, to listen to mentions and monitor stories told about our brand, you've got companies like Review Pro. Flip2 is great for encouraging travelers to share information socially about hotels. And then Hoxel is a great product for personalizing the guest experience. So I want to talk a little bit about visual storytelling. And sites like Instagram and Pinterest have become explosively popular because they combine two of the most powerful aspects of social media, sharing and imagery. And imagery is great too because it doesn't have to be translated into 20 different languages. It's a universal language. And there are really three types of visuals. Professional visuals, so they're the ones that we hire a professional photographer to shoot for us. We still need them for things like our website and a brochure if you have one, and advertising. And then there's social imagery, the day-to-day imagery that we post to feed Twitter and Facebook, etc., that we often shoot ourselves, those slices of life with our guests. And it's okay if they're amateur. It's actually better because they're more authentic. They're more real. And then there's, of course, the traveler photos generated by travelers that are taking them when they come here and uploading them. And so we need to strive for a mixture of all three types of visuals within our marketing. And it's so important to tag visuals when you upload them. Tell them, tag who you are, where you are, and the activity when you can, because of course this helps answer the stories that the questions that travelers have, and it also helps us be searchable within social media environments. So selfies are an interesting phenomenon, and part of what makes them so popular is they allow travelers to insert themselves into the story. And so it kind of feeds into our narcissistic tendencies. And here's a great example of a group selfie. And I love this because you've got this woman who's so concerned about looking good in her friend's camera that she's not even looking into her own camera, and none of them are paying attention to the beautiful view behind them. And I think it kind of, it's like a statement about society today, everything that is wonderful and terribly wrong about society. And here's another selfie, this woman who's rushed the field during a football match, I guess, and even though she's getting tackled by security, she still has time to take a selfie. So for selfies, there's an opportunity to capitalize on this trend, and I've seen more and more businesses doing this, to insert your business into that visual story. And for example, there's a hotel in Athens that has a designated selfie spot, and with the perfect view, the perfect position of the view of the Parthenon in Athens behind. And then if you don't have a view, think about what this hotel in Sydney did, whereas they just put an empty picture frame in the lobby called it their selfie spot. And then there's Soul Wave House in Mallorca, which has a selfie mirror complete with a mustache. And what all these businesses are doing is actually very smart. Not only are they encouraging people to take selfies, but they're saying, okay, don't forget to mention us with a hashtag. And therefore, they become part of the story right inside the user's feed, so that powerful user-generated content. Museums are even getting into the selfie craze, and this is interesting because traditionally museums have been very snooty about, they don't want people to take photos of artwork. But apparently, they're finding that when people do take selfies in front of art, they feel more connected to the artwork, and it becomes a richer experience. And even some of the subjects of masterpieces out there are getting into the selfie craze. You've got David here taking a quick selfie, and even Mona Lisa here catching a selfie. So I want to show you quickly just a couple more things before I'm done, and we'll go to Q&A. First of all, videos. And video is probably the most powerful aspect of visual storytelling because it tells the real story. So with text, you can exaggerate descriptions. With photos, you can touch up and Photoshop photos, but it's hard to fake videos. So travelers trust them, and more are turning toward them. And videos are getting shorter and shorter. And of course, Vine, you can only do a 6-second video. And so here's an example of a Vine video. It's like a hotel review.
My Kimpton Eventi review in 6 seconds. Living room, bedroom, desk, Empire State Building. And my favorite part is the bathroom. My Kimpton Eventi review in 6 seconds. Living room, bedroom, desk, Empire State Building. And my favorite part is the bathroom. My Kimpton Eventi review in 6 seconds. Living room, bedroom, desk, Empire State Building. And my favorite part is the bathroom.
Okay, I won't make you watch more of that. It's a form of torture. But it's interesting because he basically tells you everything you need to know about a hotel in New York in 6 seconds, and still has time to turn it into a selfie. And I think we're going to see more and more video selfies clogging our Facebook feeds in the future. And then one last video I wanted to show you, which is a 1-minute video, and it's actually been around for a while. It's from Star Travel in Australia, and it went viral almost instantly, and it's had millions and millions of views. So doesn't that make you want to travel? Job done. Oh. Stop that here. Yeah, it's amazing what you can do when you have a big budget, huh? But really, whether you have a small budget or a big budget, you can be more effective in your social media efforts by following these general principles of storytelling. So you want to start with a really strong brand story that answers those questions: who, what, how, when, where. And remember to make the story about the traveler, because that's what they're looking for. You're answering their questions. Be brief, be visual, and above all, influence and encourage travelers to tell their stories by being realistic and being remarkable. And the better that you get at that, the more you'll see stories like this shared by travelers. It says Italy, and especially Tuscany, is full of beautiful architecture, interesting people, and amazing food. Loved it here. And that is the end of my story. And thank you. Thank you very much.
So,
okay.
Now it's time to sit and to answer some of our questions, which I hope we will have from the audience. But your host will be Barbara Sgarzi, which I'll call on stage to do some Q&A.
Okay. Hi, Daniel.
Hi, Barbara.
And thanks a lot for your presentation. I think that all the audience have a lot of stuff to bring home with them and to reflect upon. My first question is something that you didn't talk about in your presentation, and it's, well, I have to say in Italy, but maybe not only in Italy, a lot of people that work in tourism are not very happy to embrace social media and social revolution, because it can bring, and sometimes it does, bad reviews, which are normal, of course. It happens that sometimes something went wrong and you write a bad review. But of course, with social media, bad reviews are potentially immediately forwarded and read by a lot of people. So there is a sort of a reluctancy in embracing social media. What are your suggestions for people that are working in tourism to handle bad reviews?
Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, if anybody remembers last year, I was here. I started my presentation by showing a review that I got when I was general manager that recommended that I be fired. And fortunately, the owners didn't listen to them. But I think it helps people identify that, you know, we're all in this together. And social media exposes us to all types of opinions. And everywhere from the very rational to the very happy to the people who are kind of crazy to trolls who are just trying to provoke you for a reaction. So first of all, I think we need to accept that we're always going to get a bad review. And sometimes it's fair and sometimes it's not, but we can always learn from it. So we need to show leadership and listen to this feedback, take it seriously, and then obviously if it's part of a pattern, fix the problem. And a big part of managing social media too, and Helena of TripAdvisor touched on this, but is actively responding to reviews. And I don't think you need to respond to every review, but definitely if somebody complains, it's your opportunity to apologize, to correct things if there's misinformation, and then to say how you're following up. So many travelers will say that they read reviews, they can read a bad review, and then they'll read the manager response, and they'll go, oh, okay, that manager cares, he's not perfect, she's trying, and they book anyway.
Yeah, that's true, because personally, when I see a bad review on TripAdvisor and immediately after the answer of the hotel manager or the restaurant manager, I feel very relieved, because I know that there is someone that cares.
Sure.
Listen, you gave us a lot of very good suggestions about how to do great storytelling. And you said we can't control what people say about us, but we can influence it. And among these suggestions, what are the things you think we don't have to do in doing storytelling? The don'ts, the big don'ts of storytelling that maybe, you know, the big mistakes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the biggest mistake we can do is overpromise. And because when we overpromise and we underdeliver, that creates detractors. And detractors not only won't come back, but they have social media to recommend to others to stay away, and they can be quite damaging. So don't overpromise, just be real, be authentic. I mean, as if you, in Italy, as far as destination, you don't need to exaggerate. There's, as I talked to earlier. So certainly be real and avoid those cliches. I think we all, you know, when we first get into marketing, we all think that we're coming up with something really original, and we realize every second hotel says the same thing. So try to just say what's unique about not only your business, but your destination.
So yeah, try to underline something unique and don't write a lot of cliches and stereotypes. Yeah.
Try to avoid those.
Yeah. That's a great suggestion in every kind of writing we're doing, not only storytelling for tourism.
Sure.
Listen, I don't know if you were here for the previous panel with Paolo Iabechino and the concierge of the hotel, the doorman.
Just part of
Maybe
it, yeah.
part of it.
Yeah.
He underlined the importance of the human touch, of being human, and to avoid to rely on technology too much, and not to miss that human touch, that old style concierge had in a hotel.
Yeah.
Do you think we're running the risk of losing this human touch?
Well, there's definitely risk there, but I think we're going to be okay in hospitality and tourism, because whereas there's always a certain segment of traveler who is okay to do everything themselves. They're like, why do I need a hotel concierge when I've got all these apps? Well, we all know, you know, in theory, it's a good idea, but when we actually try to find quick answers to information, we're not always there. So they can help guide us, but we still need staff.
Yep.
We still need employees to help guide us in the right direction, and they can really turn a good experience into a great experience.
Yeah, we still need a sympathetic human being to talk to us.
I think so, yeah.
When
I don't think we're
when
going to
we're
all
traveling.
be replaced by robots yet.
I have the time for a last question, or
We see if there are questions from
Okay.
the audience.
I have just-
ready to take some.
Sure.
Otherwise, I have one for.
I have just one more question, and then I can leave the microphone
Please.
to anybody else. Okay. Just your idea, your opinion, your impression on Italy and what Italy is doing on tourism related to social media and storytelling, relating to your topic. Seeing Italy from abroad, are we really far behind? Are we doing good? Can we improve something in the way in which we talking about our country abroad?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, in general in social media in North America, they're a little bit more advanced, more embroiled in it, more active, responding, etc. But Europe isn't far behind, and I think, you know, conferences like this have done an incredible job every year of educating people in the tourism industry, because when it comes to your reputation, the building blocks of a reputation are each individual business. So the more that you're training and educating them on how to manage your online presence, the stronger that you're going to be as a destination, as a country, as well as individual businesses. So we're all learning as we go along.
Yeah.
Things are constantly changing. It's hard to keep up. I can't imagine what it's like to be a hotel general manager these days, or a hotel director of sales and marketing, when you got to take care of guests and take care of staff, and then all this change in online marketing. So you have to outsource, you have to educate, learn places like this, and just do your best. But don't forget that the most important thing in marketing doesn't happen online. It happens on property, on site, how you're treating your guests.
I think this is a great suggestion.
There is a question from the audience. I'll see.
Only easy questions, please. No hard questions.
Hi, Daniel. Great show, honestly.
Thank you.
Quick question, which is, you shared here a bunch of good tips. As you know, in most hotels, at least in independent hotels, social media is done very much in-house with limited resources. How would you suggest, can we train the people that work social media at hotels better to do this storytelling, compelling visual storytelling that you were talking about in your presentation?
Well, I think with storytelling, I mean, I taught myself how to tell stories, and then I wrote books. And I grabbed books. I didn't go to courses. I read books. Everybody's different. Some people prefer to come to a conference and learn from other people, or to do a webinar, etc. But there's tremendous resources out there to help people do better in social media. And I agree that social media is better handled in-house. Strategy, maybe by an outside company and keeping up on trends, but if you can get the right talent in-house, that's great. There are so many resources online to help people learn about social media, and even I've done webinars on storytelling. On my website, Renown, ton of resources. I do webinars for Review Pro. They have a resource hub on their website with a ton of guides and webinars and best practices. And I actually just started working with TripAdvisor, and they have their website, TripAdvisor Insights, ton of great free content there, and we're now doing an educational webinar series. So there's lots of resources out there.
I have a question too for Daniel. That will be the final question. You know what they wrote on T-shirts in America? I've seen T-shirts or teacup with written, likes, they don't make revenue, sales do. It's real, or you think that the likes can make revenue?
Well, I think there's so much hype in social media, and personally, I'm not sure how much money I would spend on Facebook as a business to get more likes, or often we think it's a popularity contest and we have to power boost our posts to get more likes, but why? What's the return on investment? I've always said that the most important part of social media is reviews, because people go to TripAdvisor to shop. They go to Facebook to socialize. Okay, so the priority needs to be reviews. It doesn't mean Facebook's a waste of time or anything, but it's more, for me, a platform to connect with the guests and travelers and to engage with them and to use it as a customer service tool, but a sales tool, still not proven.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Signore e signori, Daniel Craig and Barbara Sgarzi.
Thank you. Thanks so much.